I laughed when my husband asked for a divorce. He ruined his relationship with the girl he left me for. Matthew came home on a Tuesday and sat me down at the kitchen table. Our kids were at soccer practice and he'd timed it perfectly. He told me about Jenna, 24 years old, works in his accounting department, and apparently understands him in ways I never could after 15 years of marriage. He had it all planned out. He'd already rented a 2-bedroom apartment downtown, first and last month paid. He wanted to do things the right way, he said. Divorce first, then move her in after a few months so the kids could adjust. I remember looking at him and just laughing. Not a cruel laugh, just genuine surprise at how stupid he was being. He got defensive immediately, asked me why I wasn't crying or screaming, said he expected me to at least care that our marriage was ending. I told him I'd need 2 weeks to tell the kids and find a lawyer. He seemed relieved, even thanked me for being mature about it. What Matthew didn't know was that Jenna had reached out to me 3 weeks earlier. She'd sent me a long message on Instagram apologizing for everything, said she didn't know we were still together, that Matthew had told her we were basically roommates going through a slow separation, that I was cold and emotionally distant, that he'd been unhappy for years and was only staying for the kids. She seemed genuinely upset and sent me screenshots of their conversations, hundreds of texts where he complained about me, said I'd let myself go, that I didn't understand his ambitions. He'd told her we hadn't been intimate in over a year. The problem was Jenna had been following my Instagram for months. She'd seen our anniversary post from 4 months ago, the trip to Hawaii where Matthew surprised me with a helicopter tour, the photos of us kissing on the beach, his caption calling me his soulmate and best friend, my post calling him the love of my life. She'd also seen the photos from 2 weeks before she messaged me, date night at our favorite restaurant, Matthew's hand on my waist, both of us smiling. Jenna asked me directly, why would he lie about all of this if we were so happy? I told her the truth. Matthew does this every few years like clockwork, gets bored with routine, starts pursuing someone younger at work, threatens divorce to see if I'll fight for him, then backs out when reality sets in. This was the 3rd time. The first time was when our oldest was 2, a paralegal from his firm. The second was 5 years ago with someone from his gym who taught spin classes. Both times he came crying back within weeks, and I took him back because I believed people could change. Jenna thanked me and said she needed to think. She dumped him that same night. The next morning, Matthew came home looking like he hadn't slept. He was quiet all day, barely ate dinner, and kept checking his phone constantly. I knew Jenna had ended it, but I didn't say anything. For the next 2 weeks, he slowly fell apart, stopped talking about the apartment, started trying to have conversations with me about random things like we used to, even suggested we watch our favorite show together one night. Yesterday, he came home from work early and found me in the home office. He was crying, actually sobbing like I'd never seen before. He sat down across from me and said he'd made a terrible mistake, that he got caught up in something stupid and threw away everything that mattered. He said Jenna wasn't who he thought she was, that she'd twisted his words and made him feel crazy, that she was immature and manipulative. He asked me to forget everything, said we could go to counseling, take a trip, whatever I needed. He grabbed my hand and said 15 years was too much to throw away over one mistake. I opened my desk drawer and handed him an envelope. He looked confused. I told him to open it. Divorce papers, already filed, already served. My lawyer had delivered them to his office that morning while he was in a meeting with his boss. His face went white. He said this wasn't what he wanted, that he'd changed his mind, that I was supposed to give him a chance to fix things. I reminded him he'd asked for the right way to do this. Divorce first, remember? This is the right way. He started panicking then, said I was being cruel, that I'd led him on by acting calm about everything, that any normal wife would have fought harder. I told him any normal husband wouldn't have asked for a divorce in the first place. He's currently staying at that apartment he rented. The lease is for a year and he can't get out of it. The kids know everything because I told them the truth when he asked for the divorce 2 weeks ago. They're hurt, but they'll be okay. Jenna blocked him on everything. Apparently he tried calling her from different numbers. And me? I'm planning that Hawaii trip he promised me. This time I'm going alone.
What's the cruelest thing you've ever done? My mom died when I was 14. Before she passed, she made my dad promise to keep all her things in my room untouched until I was ready to go through them. 2 months later, he married his secretary. She moved in with her 3 kids and decided my room was too big to waste on one child. While I was at school, she packed all my mom's things in garbage bags and put them in the basement. When I found out, I was devastated. But my stepmom just smiled and said, "Your mom's dead. You need to move on." My dad said nothing. He just stared at his feet like a coward. That night, I heard them arguing about money. Turns out my mom had left me a trust fund that would pay for my college. My stepmom wanted my dad to split it between all 4 kids, to be fair. So I played along. I acted like the perfect daughter for 4 years. I even helped her plan her kids' birthday parties while my dad slowly drained my trust fund to pay for their private schools. The day I turned 18, I went to my mom's lawyer. Turns out the trust had one condition. If my dad touched it before I was 18, he'd have to pay back triple the amount. I took everything. The house, his savings, even his retirement. My stepmom left him when the money ran out. Now he lives in a tiny apartment working at 65 to make ends meet. Sometimes he calls asking why I had to be so cruel. I tell him to ask his feet. They seem to have all the answers.
My wedding was ruined. I spent $8,000 on this day. My dress alone was $200. I'd been planning every detail for 14 months. The venue was booked a year in advance. My mom handmade the centerpieces. Everything was perfect until Kayla showed up. I'd never heard her name until 3 weeks before the wedding, when Paul casually mentioned adding an old friend from college to the guest list. When I asked who, he got defensive. Said I was being controlling about the head count. I let it go because we were already stressed about seating arrangements. Day of the wedding, I'm in the bridal suite with my bridesmaids when my sister bursts in. There's a girl downstairs in a white dress. My maid of honor laughed and said it was probably cream or ivory. People do that all the time. It wasn't cream. It wasn't ivory. When I walked down the aisle, I saw Kayla in the 3rd row wearing a floor-length white gown with lace sleeves and a train. An actual train. My aunt was taking photos and I could see her zooming in on Kayla's dress, shaking her head. I tried to focus on Paul. He looked nervous, which I thought was normal groom jitters. The ceremony went fine. We said our vows, kissed, walked back down the aisle as husband and wife. I was happy. I thought I was happy. During cocktail hour, I was greeting guests when Kayla appeared next to me at the champagne fountain. She grabbed 2 glasses, handed me one, and said, "Congrats on finally getting him to commit." The way she said finally made my stomach drop. Before I could respond, she leaned in close and whispered, "You know he settled for you, right?" My cousin Avery was standing right there and heard everything. She started to say something, but Kayla walked away laughing. I found Paul talking to his groomsmen and pulled him him aside, asked him who Kayla really was. He said she was just a friend from college, that she was going through a rough breakup and probably had too much to drink. He kissed my forehead and told me not to worry about it. I tried to let it go. We did our first dance, cut into the appetizers, took photos with family. I was starting to relax again. Then came the cake cutting. My mom had ordered this custom 3-tier cake from a bakery 2 towns over. White fondant with real flowers cascading down the side. It cost $600. Paul and I posed in front of it while the photographer set up the shot. That's when Kayla stumbled toward us. She was clearly drunk now, mascara smudged, holding an empty wine glass. She pushed past my bridesmaid and grabbed a fistful of the bottom tier. Just grabbed it with her bare hand and threw it across the room. It hit my 73-year-old grandmother in the chest. The entire reception went silent. My photographer was still taking pictures, flash going off every few seconds while Kayla screamed, "He was supposed to marry me! We were together until 4 months ago!" I looked at Paul. His face went completely white. That's when I knew she wasn't lying. Kayla kept yelling, said they'd been dating for 2 years, that he broke up with her when his parents said she wasn't marriage material because she didn't have a college degree, that he chose me because I checked all the boxes for his family. Paul grabbed my arm and whispered, "Please, not here. We can talk about this later. Don't make a scene." His main concern was the scene. Not that his ex-girlfriend just ruined our wedding cake. Not that she was screaming about their relationship in front of 150 people. The scene. I pulled my arm free and called security myself. 2 guys in suits escorted Kayla toward the exit, but Paul followed them. He actually left our reception to go after her. My maid of honor tried to get everyone dancing again. The DJ played upbeat music. People pretended to have fun, but I could see them whispering, looking at me with pity. My mom was crying in the bathroom. My grandmother had frosting all over her dress. 40 minutes later, Paul came back inside. His tie was loosened and his eyes were red like he'd been crying. He walked past me without saying anything and went straight to the bar. I followed him, asked where he'd been. He said Kayla was upset and needed someone to talk to. I asked if what she said was true. He got defensive, said I was embarrassing him in front of his family by interrogating him at our own wedding. I told him his ex-girlfriend just threw our wedding cake at my grandmother and he's worried about being embarrassed. He said I was overreacting, that Kayla was going through a mental health crisis and I was being cruel for having her thrown out. The reception ended at 11. We were supposed to spend our wedding night at a hotel downtown before flying to Hawaii the next morning. Instead, Paul slept in his car in the parking lot because he said he needed space. I filed for annulment at 9 a.m. the next morning.